Imagine you're on the deck of a wooden ship, hundreds of years ago. You look down into the deep, dark, blue water, and you see a shadow. It's long, sleek, and moving with a quiet power that makes your heart beat a little faster. For as long as we've sailed the seas, we've been fascinated and a little scared by sharks. But the story of the shark doesn't start with us. It doesn't even start with the dinosaurs. To find the beginning of this story, we have to go back so far that the world wouldn't even look like Earth to you. Close your eyes and imagine a time machine. We're going to turn the dial back, past your parents, past the kings and queens of history, and past the very first humans. We keep turning until we hit 66 million years ago. You see a giant rock from space hit the Earth, and the dinosaurs are gone. But in the ocean, the shark is already there. We keep turning the dial. 100 million years. 200 million. 300 million. Finally, we stop at 450 million years ago. At this time, there are no trees on land, no flowers, no birds in the sky. The land is just rocks and moss. But in the ocean, a miracle has happened. The first shark has appeared. While almost every other animal group has come and gone, the shark has stayed. They are the ultimate survivors. They've lived through 5 mass extinctions, events that nearly wiped out all life on the planet. They are older than mountains, older than dinosaurs, and they're still here today. To understand why sharks have been around for so long, we have to look at how they are built. Most animals, including you, have a skeleton made of hard, heavy bone. But sharks are different. Right from the very start, they decided to build their bodies out of something called cartilage. You actually have cartilage in your body right now. Touch the tip of your nose or the top of your ear. It's tough, but you can bend it, right? That is cartilage. Now, why would a giant ocean hunter want a skeleton that bends? Well, cartilage is much lighter than bone. Imagine trying to swim while wearing a heavy suit of metal armor. You would get tired very fast. But a shark's bendy skeleton is like a lightweight sports car. Because it's light, the shark doesn't have to use much energy to stay afloat. It also makes them incredibly flexible. A shark can turn its body in a very tight circle to catch a fish, while a bony fish might be too stiff to make that turn. This bendy skeleton is one of the main reasons sharks have survived for 450 million years. It's a design that simply works, but the shark's superpowers don't stop on the inside. Let's look at their skin. If you were to pet a shark, which, of course, you should never do, it wouldn't feel smooth or slimy like a goldfish. It would feel like very rough sandpaper. In fact, in the old days, people used shark skin to sand down wood because it was so tough. Why is it so rough? Because a shark's skin is actually covered in millions of tiny, microscopic teeth called dermal denticles. Think about that for a second. A shark is literally covered in a suit of armor made of tiny teeth. These skin teeth are a masterpiece of engineering. They are shaped with tiny grooves that help the water flow over the shark's body perfectly. When a shark swims, these scales reduce drag, which is the water pushing against them. It makes the shark move through the water with almost zero noise. They are the ultimate stealth hunters. Scientists have spent years studying shark skin to help humans make faster swimsuits, and even better coatings for airplanes. The shark was a master of physics millions of years before humans even knew what a laboratory was. As we move forward in our time machine to about 300 million years ago, we enter a time called the Golden Age of Sharks. During this time, the oceans were full of some of the weirdest looking creatures you can imagine. Because there weren't many other big predators, sharks started to experiment with their shapes. One of the strangest was a shark called Stethocon. It looked like a normal shark, but instead of a regular fin on its back, it had a wuhe flat structure that looked like an anvil or an ironing board. This anvil was covered in sharp little spikes. We think the shark used this to look like a giant mouth to anything swimming above it, scaring away bigger monsters. Then there was the heli. This shark is famous because of its mouth. It didn't have normal rows of teeth. Instead, it had a tooth whorl that looked like a circular saw blade. Imagine a shark with a buzzsaw in its jaw. When it bit down, those spiraling teeth would slice through prey like a hot knife through butter. These experimental sharks show us that nature is always trying new ideas. Some worked, and some didn't. But the shark lineage kept moving forward, getting better and better with every million years. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more amazing stories from our planet's past. Eventually, the sharks found a design that worked so well, they didn't need to change much anymore. One of their biggest upgrades was something called protrusible jaws. Your top jaw is part of your skull, it doesn't move. But a shark's jaw is floating. It's held on by strong ligaments. When a shark goes to bite something, its entire mouth can slide forward and out of its face. This lets them grab much bigger pieces of food and bite with much more power, and they never have to worry about losing a tooth. If you lose a tooth, you have to wait for a new one to grow, or you go to the dentist. But a shark has a conveyor belt of teeth. They have rows and rows of teeth tucked behind the front ones. If a shark loses a tooth while hunting, a new, sharp one just slides forward to take its place. Some sharks can go through 30,000 teeth in their lifetime. They're always armed, always sharp, and always ready. Now, we have to talk about the most famous shark of all. The Megalodon lived from about 20 million years ago until about 3 million years ago. To understand how big the Megalodon was, don't just think of a big fish. Think of a giant school bus. A Megalodon was about 60 feet long and weighed as much as 30 elephants. Its teeth were the size of a human hand, and its bite was powerful enough to crush a car. They were the undisputed kings of the ocean, eating whales for breakfast. They were so big that they had to live in warmer waters to keep their huge bodies moving. But about 3 million years ago, the Earth started to change. The oceans got colder, and the big whales that the Megalodon loved to eat moved into the icy Arctic and Antarctic waters. The Megalodon was simply too big to follow them into the cold, and it eventually disappeared. This teaches us a very important lesson. Being the biggest isn't always the best. To survive for millions of years, you have to be able to change when the world changes. The smaller sharks that could live in cold water and eat smaller fish are the ones that are still with us today. Today, we have over 500 different kinds of sharks, and they have developed superpowers that are truly mind. The most amazing one is their sixth sense. You have 5 senses: sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing. But sharks have one more. They can feel electricity. All living things, including you, send out a tiny bit of electricity every time their heart beats or their muscles move. Sharks have tiny, jelly-filled holes on their snouts, called the ampulla of Laurent. These holes can feel that tiny electrical pulse in the water. This is how a shark can find a fish that is buried deep under the sand, where they can't see it or smell it. They just feel the fish's heartbeat. The hammerhead shark has a head shaped like a wide tool, specifically for this reason. That wide, flat head acts like a giant metal detector. It is covered in thousands of these electrical sensors, allowing the hammerhead to scan the seafloor like a high-tech radar system. It is one of the most advanced hunting tools in the animal kingdom. Not all sharks are about speed and power. Some are about patience. In the freezing, dark waters of the Arctic, there lives a creature called the Greenland shark. These sharks move very, very slowly, so slowly that some people call them sleeper sharks. Because they live in such cold water and move so little, their bodies don't wear out like ours do. Scientists have discovered that Greenland sharks can live for 400 to 500 years. Think about that for a second. There is a shark swimming in the ocean right now that was born before the United States was even a country. It was alive when people were still sailing in wooden ships and wearing powdered wigs. They are living time machines. They grow only about 1 inch every year, and they don't even reach adulthood until they are 150 years old. They remind us that there are still huge mysteries in the deep ocean that we are just beginning to understand. We often think of sharks as scary because of their teeth, but the biggest shark in the world is actually a gentle giant. The whale shark can grow to be 40 feet long, but it doesn't hunt big fish or whales. It is a filter feeder. It swims through the ocean with its massive mouth wide open, sucking in thousands of gallons of water and filtering out tiny little creatures called plankton. It has no interest in hurting humans. It's a peaceful wanderer of the sea, proving that being a shark isn't always about being a fierce predator. Sharks have been called many things: monsters, killers, predators, but a better word for them would be doctors. In the ocean, sharks act as the cleanup crew. They usually hunt the fish that are sick, weak, or old. Bidontis. They keep the fish populations healthy and strong. They make sure that diseases don't spread through the ocean. If sharks disappeared, the whole ocean would get sick. The number of smaller fish would explode. They would eat all the food, and then the entire ecosystem would collapse. We need sharks to keep our planet in balance. They have been doing this job for 450 million years, and they are the best at it. Even though sharks have survived asteroids, ice ages, and massive extinctions, they are now facing their biggest challenge. Thus, every year, millions of sharks are lost because of overfishing and the destruction of their ocean homes. It would be a tragedy if a creature that survived the dinosaurs and lived for almost 500 million years disappeared during our lifetime. When you look at a shark, you are looking at a masterpiece. You are looking at cartilage that is lighter than bone, skin that is faster than a racing boat, a sixth sense that can feel a heartbeat in the dark, and a history that goes back to the very beginning of life. They are beautiful, they are complex, and they're incredibly important. So, the next time you see a shark on TV or at an aquarium, remember their long journey. Remember the anvil sharks and the saw blade sharks. Remember the giant Megalodon and the slow, ancient Greenland shark. They are the eternal kings of the ocean, the survivors of time itself. I want to hear from you. Which part of the shark's story was your favorite? Do you think the Megalodon was the coolest? Or are you more amazed by the Greenland shark that lives for 500 years? Maybe you have a favorite shark fact that I didn't mention today. There's so many amazing species to talk about, from the great white to the glowing sharks of the deep sea. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. I love reading your stories and hearing what you find interesting. If you enjoy this long trip through the history of the shark and you want to see more deep dive stories like this about the amazing world of nature, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us keep making these big, detailed adventures for you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and learning about the incredible 450 million year epic of the shark. Keep being curious, keep asking questions, and I will see you in the next deep dive.